Welcome back, folks. So we have you here for another episode. Sorry, guys, a little slow today because we're doing a late podcast.
Yes.
But guys, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Check us out at Eigenbros.com, Eigenbros on Twitter, Eigenbros on Instagram, Eigenbros2 on TikTok. And then, of course, patrons, we thank you guys once again. And if you guys want to be Patreon members, just join patreon.com/Eigenbros.
Yeah.
And yeah.
All right, let's get to it.
Yeah.
As the title says, we are talking about the Xprize,
Yeah.
which is a famous. Well, actually, it's not that famous. I had just found out about it through you.
Yeah, it's not that famous. I literally just saw a podcast on the feed one day.
Yeah.
For the Eigen folks watching this podcast, this is a fast and loose episode because me and Juan are trying to record a couple episodes because we're both going to be out of town while you're watching this.
Yes.
So don't expect too high of quality here, but this is more of a fast and loose episode. So
bring out your coffee, put this on in the background, sip it, and you're like, okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I'm here to listen.
Or switch it off if you don't want to hear rambling with no facts, really.
Yeah, or put it on in the background and just mute it.
Yeah.
So it runs.
No,
right.
But guess our YouTube points.
Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, the Xprize has this touted $100 million prize to capture carbon. And it's funded by Elon Musk and the Musk Foundation. And this $100 million competition is the largest incentive prize in history, and for basically saving the planet. Right?
There you go.
From our own demise.
There you go.
And
Elon won't even be on SNL, I don't think, when this episode comes out.
No, not yet. But also invest in Doge. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, wait, he's going to be on SNL tomorrow.
Oh, interesting.
Well, tomorrow when this episode releases.
True. Well, the climate, he'll probably talk about the climate maybe at some point, but hopefully he'll also talk about this because it's a huge prize. Yeah. And I think it's kind of pivotal for humanity to be serious about sequestering CO2 and reaching a carbon negative solution. Mm-hmm. And the prize basically is looking for some kind of technology that puts us in the negative, right?
Right. And negative meaning that we're taking away more CO2 than outputting into the atmosphere.
Yeah, and right now, there have been, you were kind of confused because you saw him on a podcast, you said?
Well, he was on a podcast with the foundation runner of the Xprize. Mm-hmm. His buddy, I forget his name. But he had a podcast with him, and they were basically doing it as a way to kind of promote the Xprize and to say what the criteria and stuff was. It's really a loose project, though. It seems like they don't really have much criteria. I checked the website; there was a whole thing about it, but I literally have not read anything about it, and I know almost nothing about it, really.
Right.
But it seems like something interesting. If you want to just try to solve the world's problems and maybe become friends with Elon in the process.
Yeah, as far as I know, this is from their website, but it says the competition begins Earth Day, April 22nd this year, and it's running through for the next 4 years till 2025. And Elon will personally hand you $100 million big check. One of these.
Right.
No, but he makes the criteria kind of loosely, and at least in the video, he was like, "It's got to be." What do you remember the condition?
Yeah, I think one of the criteria, they were literally formulating it as we were watching it, I think. Or Elon was just figuring out what it was supposed to be,
right? Because
they mentioned that you need to have a device that can get rid of 1 ton of CO2 per year, at least. And I think that's
it's okay. No, actually, they finally updated the website.
Okay,
it says. That to win the prize, the teams must demonstrate CO2 removal at 1,000 tons per year.
Oh, wow.
TONNE. I don't know if is that metric or something?
I think it's the same, just fancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because I've seen
1 kiloton per year.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
1 kiloton. So model costs at the million ton per year, megaton, air quotation, scale, and present a plan to sustainably reach gigaton per year scale in the future.
Wow.
In the first phase of competition, teams must demonstrate the key component of their carbon removal solution at a minimum. Teams can submit entries across natural engineered and hybrid solutions. So after 1 year, so this is the prize purse. The $100 million prize purse will be distributed as follows. After 1 year of competition, the judges will review all the submissions received and award up to 15 milestone prizes of $1 million each.
Wow.
At the discretion of the judges, these awards may be granted on a conditional basis. And after 4 years, the judges will select the winners. $50 million paid to the single grand prize winner, $30 million to be distributed amongst 3 runner-ups. Then Xprize will also award up to $5 million to student teams in the fall of 2021. Damn. That's huge.
Yeah, that's pretty damn good.
Dude, that is great.
That's more than most. That's more than the fucking Nobel Prize. I mean, Jesus, if you're like one of the straggler student groups, you get more than the Nobel Prize.
Yeah, seriously.
5 times the amount of a Nobel Prize. I mean,
and
Jesus.
probably more prestigious because, like, think about it. You're like on a real quest to save the planet, quite literally.
Yeah. Well, some physicists think they are doing that.
You and I are laughing because it's like some of them do have the what is it called? They don't have the humility to see like. Yeah.
Well, that's literally one of Eric Weinstein's biggest passions. He says we have to get off this earth.
Oh yeah.
And physics is the main way. I'm like, I don't know, Eric. Although that is one way.
Yeah, physics is like, I think this is uniquely. Could reach you can reach solutions through physics, but you and I loosely discussing it, we saw how interdisciplinary this task becomes, right?
For the Xprize, the climate change, it can be pretty tough. But I mean, an engineering background would probably be really nice with this, I would imagine. Yeah, it'd probably be the best thing to have in this project.
Yeah, because like the most, I guess, the leading tech right now. Is a carbon capture solution from a company in Canada.
Is it the one that we saw in the video?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this guy it's basically just he had an array of like these fans, right? Mm-hmm. And then they were just sucking up like hundreds of megatons, I believe, per year. And I guess Elon wants maybe a single unit to be able to do 1 kiloton, and I guess maybe that would be more viable than what the guy has.
Yeah.
I don't know what his specs are for his machinery, but there are groups out there that have these carbon capture technologies, but it seems like it's not really profitable is the problem.
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure out how to make it actually cheap enough to where they can, afford to do this and actually get government interested in this as well so that they can actually make a profitable business so they can sustain doing this. But the guy claims, he only needs 40,000 of these operating and they could solve the climate problem.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for those of you that want to know, it's a company called Carbon Engineering. And maybe I can play a quick clip. Let's see. Hopefully they can. You don't want to play?
No, because it means I have to have video
true. Yeah.
We don't have enough time for that.
Let's not do that. So basically, you can look up a Freethink video, Carbon Capture Technology Explained, and they kind of go through a little rundown. But the company essentially just says, well, they're working with the devil in this case of carbon tech. Well, they're working with fossil fuel industries to remain carbon neutral. And that's kind of the argument is that they're working with the fuel companies so that they can further develop the tech so that it can become better over time.
Yeah, it seems interesting. I mean, they had some nice ways of he had this like recycled fuel. That was like it took out the carbon emission part, so you can use the fuel without actually expelling any more carbon emissions into the air. So it's like a zero sum, or not zero sum. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but like it's a carbon neutral fuel in the sense that it doesn't add any more carbon to the atmosphere.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to use that fuel, then you could use that. But he's saying that it's just the amount of quantities you can get from it is not really that sustainable for our business.
True.
So the stuff ultimately still has to be cheaper.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, they had there was 2 things they could have done with it, I think. In the video they showed that there's one way they basically pump the CO2 back into.
Well, you're saying for storage of the CO2.
Yeah, for storage. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were pumping the CO2 into the ground to keep it captured there. Of course, then if you have problems if that gets
released.
Yeah. If you somehow get let's say even an earthquake, and then all that carbon rises up, then you have a problem again. But
and
one solution.
There is one solution, and a lot of people I think kind of poo-poo that solution because, like you're saying, the storage isn't. It can come up again, but then the idea is that they store it back so they can go back into the carbon cycle. But I think removing carbon from the atmosphere or carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is the main goal here, right?
Yeah, but I mean the reason it was going back into the carbon cycle specifically was because, at least with the case of the guy that we're talking about, what's the company called?
Carbon Engineering.
Carbon Engineering. He was actually having to do it to help oil companies to get more oil out the ground.
Yeah, true.
So it was people were a little bit annoyed by that because you're just adding more efficiency to the oil companies, which are pumping more carbon into the atmosphere there.
Yeah.
And the guy's point was that he was saying that, I mean, yeah, that's true, but they're going to basically pump that stuff anyway, and the government's not taking the problem serious enough to actually make this profitable for their business. So they really have no other option. Mm-hmm. So they were saying that basically they had no other choice.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest, I guess, what would you say, negative points against that kind of thing. So you really have to get politicians involved, it seems, to make this into something. Or your carbon capture technology has to be so good, that it's profitable even at the price it's at.
True.
Which is, I guess, what the Xprize is trying to get people to do, to get, I guess, more clever engineering to figure out how to just capture more carbon.
Yeah.
Or more CO2 specifically.
Yeah, and so for those of you that might be thinking, oh, well, why don't we just, if you're thinking like an engineer, you're like, oh, let's look at nature, right?
Yeah.
How does nature do it? Because nature finds a way, or as Jeff Goldblum. So
life finds a way.
Life finds a way.
Yeah. I'm not gonna do my horrible Jeff Goldblum
Gotcha. No, but if you haven't seen Jurassic Park, go watch it. It's a beautiful movie. Speaking of dinosaurs, this kind of goes full circle because, as you know, dinosaurs died for our sins.
Oh, that's who did that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, they died for us to, commit to this sinful life of emitting.
They literally died for us to sin.
Yeah. For us to emit CO2 levels to the way they are now. Mm-hmm. But how do plants basically form? How do they take CO2 out of the air, right? And
don't ask me that. I'm no biologist. That video that we watched too, I barely remember what they said.
True. Well, the they basically take it in through photosynthesis, and carbon dioxide enters through the tiny little how would you say, little mouths,
cell wall thing.
Yeah, cell walls inside of the leaves, and they break down the carbon dioxide from water and sunlight. So the thing is,
I imagine chloroplast has something to do with this.
Yes, very true.
Okay.
So they take CO2 and H2O, and they take light energy in the UV range, and then pump out CH, so complex carbon molecule, and then oxygen. So in nature, you have this mechanism in which takes CO2 and it gives you oxygen. But this is all purely chemistry, right? The solution that carbon engineering also uses is technically also through chemistry. But as Terence and I were discussing, we're trying to see there's ways, I guess, that you can try to come up with solutions. And I think you
mean for neutralizing the carbon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't really think of any great ones.
Well,
I thought the chemistry answer that he had was probably the most simple and elegant one.
Right. So, and you also, funny enough, you also came up with the fan concept. You were like, yeah, something to suck in air.
Yeah, I mean, but these are all obvious solutions, right?
Yeah.
These are the low-hanging fruit. And this is why I think Elon made the Xprize, because you can already kind of conceive of if anybody's like, what's a device I can make? Your first thought is going to be, oh, I can suck up the CO2 from the atmosphere. I mean, it's like the number one easy answer, right?
Yeah.
So I think Elon's whole goal of this is probably to find the people who are thinking a little bit more outside the box and have some weird or clever solutions to the problem that maybe nobody would think of, or you know. And when you got a $100 million prize to motivate you, I mean, that's pretty. That could be pretty inspiring.
I would hope so. Yeah, because I mean, like we made a distinction now because we're like, oh, there are passive ways that you can capture carbon, but there's also active ways.
Sure, the passive ways seem to be the most natural but unscalable, right?
Yeah.
Because we can think of like trees, for example, as the number one that you think of, or like algae. Another one they mentioned in the video that I didn't even know was rocks apparently do it over the course of thousands of years.
Yeah.
Probably not really useful if you're thinking in terms of the Xprize, but who knows? Maybe we can make a super version of a rock.
Super rocks?
Yeah, super rocks. So, but, you know, like the passive ones are cool and natural, but probably not going to be the way to go if we want to get to a negative CO2 emission. So the active device is going to be where you have to probably put your mind towards, and just hopefully use not so much energy, you know, where your output is going to be, your CO2 carbon output is going to be greater in terms of energy uses versus your getting rid of that CO2 emission. So but whatever, it's like you gotta find probably an active way to remove carbon dioxide.
And we thought of ways that you could do this, and ideally you would have zero. Like we thought about, like, oh, you would sometimes maybe get byproducts, but the idea is that you don't want byproducts.
What do you mean?
From the process, you really just want to capture the CO2. Because if you introduce byproducts...
Yeah, now you might be adding more problems, right?
Exactly.
I mean, ideally, right? But actually, Elon even mentioned this, like, if you're going to add byproducts or things like this, then hopefully the byproducts are much less of a problem than the CO2, right?
Right.
So if you're going to have to do anything like that, then just hopefully it's lesser of a problem than what you're trying to solve. You don't want to be solving a problem to create another equally horrible or worse problem.
Right. Like one issue is, I mean, in the world they already kind of do this, but I know you kind of brought it up. It was sort of like geoengineering, where you like spray some kind of thing that neutralizes the CO2.
Yeah. Sure, like an aerosol. You could think of that. Somehow with chemistry, it recombines with the CO2 and then it will rain down, let's say, that byproduct.
Like it neutralizes it.
Yeah. But I'm just having horror visions of like a new form of acid rain. Now your water is polluted and shit. And it sounds not like the best solution, but who knows? Maybe, I don't know. There could maybe be a way, but for me, I'm just my vision of the future for that version doesn't seem like it'd be very good.
Because I mean, people already complain about chemtrails and whatnot, so it's like
giving conspiracy theorists more reasons to
say the government invented global warming so that they could pump us with CO2 pellets or something.
They're raining nanites on us. Device tracking nanites.
Device tracking nanites, whatever you want to call them. Like it's gonna be so you have to think about the people too that are gonna think. The other thing was the other issue is that removing carbon, the distinction here, removing carbon from the ocean and then removing carbon from the air. And that is...
I think probably the air is going to be more useful, right? Because the whole point of carbon emissions, the problem is that there's basically a blanket of CO2 in the atmosphere. And the problem with that is that it's locking in heat, right? So like, let's say the light from the sun is entering in to Earth, to Earth's atmosphere, but then it's getting bounced off of that CO2 layer and it's just being retained on Earth. And then that's rising up the temperatures, long story short. So I don't think the water is going to be the best way to go. I think you probably want to get rid of it in the atmosphere itself. But maybe, I mean, if you can do any kind of chunk of damage, of course, that's probably good. But
and I think that's kind of what you should hope to aim for, because the removing CO2 from the ocean, that sounds like a tough problem, because if it mixes, because water is a much more like this is going to be tougher, I think.
It feels tougher, yeah.
Yeah.
It does feel tougher, but I don't know.
You can go, like I was thinking, removing CO2 from the oceans might lend towards more passive solutions, because I can't think of, I'm not clever enough to think of solutions that might be active that could. It seems more the conception of removing carbon from the air seems like a more feasible task than the one in the water for some reason.
And it also seems more to attacking the actual problem.
Right.
Because then you're getting rid of that CO2 layer in the atmosphere too.
Yeah.
Which is really the critical part of the problem.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, carbon dioxide is fine. We don't care about that, right? I mean, plants take that in.
Yeah.
Carbon dioxide is not going to kill you. Well, it will kill you, but with enough of it. But I'm saying, like, it's not a problem for us.
Yeah.
We can breathe in some CO2 and we'll be fine.
Yeah. But I guess, the planet doesn't like it.
Yeah, the planet just doesn't like it because it's heating it up.
Mm-hmm.
Because the planet's fine with CO2, just in the proper quantities, right?
Right. The acceleration is too fast, and if that's something that you kind of have to get your head around. Yeah. Because a lot of people say, well, CO2, you need it for the carbon cycle, because plants take in. By the way, plants, this is how they form their bark. Yeah. Essentially, those are carbon molecules, and
which I did not know. That was kind of mind blowing.
Isn't that mind blowing?
Yeah, it's like I never thought about that. Like, how does a tree grow? I guess it literally is because it takes in the CO2 and takes that carbon, those carbon molecules, and creates its own bark and shit from those things. I'm like, damn, nature.
Life is amazing.
Life is truly amazing.
Yeah, I feel like anytime I think about science, I'm like, man, I feel like I'm tripping right now. But the information is very much like sort of like a slow drip of like some kind of, like, how would I say this, experience almost.
What do you mean?
Like it's
slow drip of what specifically?
Like
this situation,
it gives me a dopamine shot, like just something cool,
like information in general. Oh, something like a fact like that. Yeah.
Where it's like, dang, new information unlocked. Where it's like, wow.
Yeah, there are certain pieces of information that are like mic drops for sure.
Yeah. But carbon
is a lot in physics.
Very true. I don't know if so. The idea here is that I was trying to conceive of a way to reach this solution.
Yeah, what ideas you got?
I was like, let me see, chemistry. Is there anything that we can do that is more clever than just do chemistry? Yeah, because that's what plants. Yeah. That's what nature does.
Yeah.
And I think we both tried to approach it, trying to find ways around the chemistry, because everyone's going to go to the chemistry.
No, people are going to go to the fan idea.
Yeah, but the fan thing, that's how they that's how they condense it. Remember?
Well, that's how they take it in.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're saying how they're going to store it?
Yeah, how they're going to actually extract the CO2.
Yeah, I mean, the chemistry is probably the most simple aspect, though.
Yeah. Because nature does it, but I'm like thinking, what's like, if you could think of a clever way to do this, technology is obviously like the most clever way.
Yeah, but it might not be energy efficient.
Yeah, and truthfully so. Like I was doing like a rough calculation. And it's like 13.6 eV to like break CO2 bonds.
I was making fun of Juan.
He was roasting me, but
not exactly for what you're saying right now, but for something related to it.
Yeah. It takes 13.6 eV to like break the CO2 bond. And I was like, well, like what kind of wavelength would you need to break this bond? And it's about 90 nanometers to break the wavelength, which is
for the
very
physics
high
people
energy.
out there. Wavelength is inversely proportional to frequency. So, of course, the smaller the wavelength you have, the larger the frequency, which means the higher the energy. So things that are high energy you don't want to have, because that interacts with their particles and it costs a lot of energy too, and that means more CO2 emissions. Like it's counterproductive.
It is kind of counterproductive. And I was like, well, maybe you could attach solar panels. And I'm like, damn, we're just doing what plants are doing.
Yeah. So this is an interesting one. There's not many clever. I feel like it's hard to think of a clever solution.
It is. I mean, it's difficult because we're trying to circle. I was trying to go around, but I ended up circling back to what plants do. So I'm like, shit. There's really got to be something that we don't see. Like maybe nature hasn't necessarily taken that path.
Sure.
Because maybe it's slightly more costly than the current process, but it's enough to where maybe we could still afford to pay the price, but nature might not go that route.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah.
Should we start an Eigen team, Xprize team?
Hey,
who's in?
I am down. Like if we
want to make some money,
if y'all want to start,
be friends with Elon.
Me and Terence, we're ideas people. I mean, we're not shy about it.
Yeah.
So like if y'all want to collaborate on brainstorming ideas and then finding like ways to crunch numbers and then figure out what works. How
could we do that? We start like an Eigenbros Discord. I think Xprize Discord. Eigenbros Xprize Discord.
The first community sourced how would you say like
Xprize?
Yeah, no, community like sourced, how would you say, technological like discovery sort of. You know what I mean? Like an open source kind of like tech.
So then the first steps would be what? We'd have to get money to even begin to do a prototype phase, right?
Yeah.
So we'd have to invest heavily or we'd have to find people who would be willing to invest.
Let's find Doge investors. Dogecoin.
So we'd have to find a bunch of people who would be able to do that. Then we'd have to find smart people too, who would be able to come up with good ideas and to implement some of these solutions, right?
Yeah.
It's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, like, but truthfully, if you're like,
so don't get your hopes up.
This is a motivation for like students and maybe even professionals. Like, it's harder to think of professionals doing this, but I think students can do it. I mean, his Hyperloop thing, he tried doing it with that, but the Hyperloop.
Like outsourcing that idea.
Yeah, but that's
kind of hard to get people to take on your pet projects, especially when you have no money. That's another thing Elon needs to realize. Like, if he wants to get people to do things, you need to give the money up front.
Yeah.
Trust somebody to do something like that, or make a really simple prize where you might be like, okay, I'll give this person $1 million to start with or something.
Well,
go ahead. Well, I was going to say, you remember my idea was to just make software or something around the
collection.
The quantifying of like CO2 emission related stuff. So like if you could write a software that could somehow take in data for everywhere that collects CO2 or for everywhere that understands how CO2 is distributed in the atmosphere, and write a program for that, maybe that would be useful.
Yeah.
And then send it to Elon, and then maybe he could help you out and be like, fine, I'll kick you guys like
$20,000. Yeah,
I'm hoping for a bigger number than that.
Yeah. No,
because he said he's open to giving people money.
Yeah, trickling in.
Yeah.
You
just have to make it worth his time.
Yeah, there's definitely some ancillary work that you can do like that's supportive in that way where.
Yeah.
And I think I mean mapping, like you were saying, creating CO2.
Like you said before, temperature maps or something.
Temperature maps, yeah.
Except it's not actually temperature maps. I'm just saying maybe substitute temperature for the actual CO2 distribution.
Yeah, because people, organic things, they emit.
Yeah, but they also might have enough sensors to where you can have rudimentary amounts of data.
True.
You said before with weather stations. If there's just one weather station per state. And you at least have 50 points of data in the U.S.
Yeah.
That's something,
That is something. That's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that's valid.
And then better models, you can maybe extrapolate more.
Yeah.
Machine learning is a buzzword thing nowadays. You somehow implement machine learning maybe to figure out with like population distributions, like how much CO2 should be in that area. You never know.
Yeah. Vector mapping. You just throw in.
Exactly. You just think of all the buzzwords and throw them into your project and then somehow apply them.
Yeah. No, I mean, like there's that like ancillary thing, work that you could do. And that is like a legitimate, valid like project, I would say. I was trying to think of other things you could do, like supportive tech, and I couldn't think of any. No, but yeah, the support role seems to be also the most, I would say, the most appealing if you're like a small sort of business, or if you're approaching this from like hey, this is a small team that I'm gathering.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you institutions are going to be going after this prize. Like, you can't really compete.
Maybe.
You don't think so? Like schools, like imagine researchers like with the schools, institutions we're going after that.
I've not seen anybody really talking about it, so I don't even know if they really care.
Okay, well, here you go. We're about to make it known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've put it out on Twitter and whatnot, but I don't think people are really taking it that seriously.
Which is insane.
They got other shit in mind. That's what it is.
I mean, this is the most pressing matter, I think.
Yeah, climate change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw people whining on Twitter today about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency being so bad for the environment, and how it's just so much energy usage that's causing even worse CO2 emissions. I'm just like, okay, guys, but like, stop whining about cryptocurrency, people, and actually solve the problem politically and in industry. It's like we're always going to have new things and new technologies and stuff that take up energy. It's like, crypto is already a thing. You're not going to ban crypto. I mean, you can, but like,
it's hard to control.
Like, fix the actual problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's really hard and difficult to control people.
Yeah.
So you have to find ways to work around people.
Yeah.
So in that way, like,
and attack problems at their source. Yeah. Don't attack problems around these stuff. That's the peripheral things. It's like, I mean, yeah. It's just like, why are you attacking crypto? It's going to be here to stay. It's already here. Yeah. It's like, move on and attack the actual problem of CO2 emissions.
Yeah, and I mean, like, carbon capture technology isn't necessarily new. It's been around for, I think, since the 80s or 90s, if I remember this correctly. Okay. So it's been around, but it's not really popularized. It hasn't really been popularized in the U.S., and one of those aspects is that in the U.S., the federal government subsidizes oil to the tune of, like, I want to say billions of dollars, if not more. And so the cost, and Elon Musk has talked about this, where he's in direct competition to oil, so he's not shy about talking, laying the smackdown on big oil. Yeah. Saying that, if they were to meet, in
the middle?
If they were to meet, like, at the true cost of everything, no subsidies, oil would be more expensive. Yeah. If it were priced
we need oil too badly.
Yeah.
So it ain't gonna happen.
So it's like, he's like, this is, I mean, I agree with him. It's kind of egregious because, but we are, at the government, at least the federal government, is so heavily invested in oil because
we need it, man,
because of the war machine.
Yeah,
but
we just need it.
Gotta have oil.
We could, as a nation, we could prioritize, like, I get the war machine aspect of it, where you do have the oil, the necessity for oil. Mm-hmm. But as a nation, in terms of, like, economic activity, we could push towards, like, how would you say, outproducing
non-renewable,
gasoline in cars.
You're right, Juan, but that's still, like you're saying, it's a push because all of our infrastructure is based off of oil infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And what happens when you change a whole infrastructure? That's a lot of money to shell out up front.
Yeah, man.
So it's like we don't want to spend money, right?
No, I know.
So as long as we have oil, we want to keep it cheap and keep the system going there. But of course, I agree with you. I think that we should start rolling out more renewable energy, policy or whatever, and also like supporting things that utilize renewables. But the thing is, reality is, we're in a capitalistic society, right? And if the money incentive is not there,
yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
The death, the existential crisis situation is not enough.
Not present.
Then yeah, it's like, what are we gonna do?
But that's the thing. Like, I think this is why I like Elon's approach with with how he sort of developed Tesla to what it is today, right? He took advantage of the subsidies that the government's put in place, at least in the Obama era, and created Tesla to be as profitable as it is today.
Yeah.
But with the help of the government, which is something that a lot of people, for some reason, say like he would be under if it wasn't for the federal subsidies. But I'm like,
that's fine. A lot of businesses would be like that.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like literally.
Next.
Yeah, I'm like literally the oil industry would not be held up as much as if it wasn't for the subsidy. But anyway,
a lot of businesses get government help. So next stupid talking point.
So it's like yeah. I mean, for me, it's like if you're going to, I would just like to see more incentives to push the economy more in developing
renewable resources.
Yeah,
I agree.
So yeah, but
and cutting out the CO2 emissions. So you need to double. You need to double up.
Yeah, and that's
a
thing.
Political problem.
It is a political problem.
We're in a very politically problematic area for
like
CO2 emissions stuff. Yeah. I mean, so I'm like, I keep being like, okay, who cares about the crypto shit? Like, I don't give a fuck. Who cares about, these other little problems? It's like the government is really a lot of this falls on the government right now.
Yeah.
To implement policy.
Yeah, and
industry as well. But then, of course, the government policies will affect the industry.
The industry, yeah. So you think it's fundamentally the root is good policy?
Yeah, I think the root is political right now. Mm-hmm. It's got to be political, right? Because if the people don't have we live in a capitalistic framework. If you don't have the monetary incentive as a private industry, it's like you can't really blame them for doing CO2 emissions because that's what they can afford, right?
Yeah.
You can't afford to change all your infrastructure and things like this without any incentive.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's
and there's sometimes people have the carbon tax, but of course I would rather not have taxes, but if that's what it takes, sometimes you might have to do that as well. It's like it's a political thing.
To me, that's like a weird double dip too, though. Like a carbon tax, because it's like on one hand the government's subsidizing the cost of oil, but then also taxing. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? It's like, what the fuck, man? Anyway,
this is how things go, right? It's just paperwork on paperwork, right? Laws upon laws.
I'm just like, dude, this is so
stack of laws.
just so insane. But anyway, in terms of more solutions to think about, like, did you like try to see if we were trying to think of the craziest things?
Oh, you mean for carbon capture?
Yeah. So going back to the carbon capture tech, like,
yeah.
Like what's
you were talking about sponges and shit.
Yeah. I was thinking about the craziest thing. I feel like what if
I like it though. You need that kind of brainstorming for these things.
You do. Think about the wildest thing. And I said, Elon, get a whiff of this. Get a whiff of this.
It's like, my nostrils are open.
It's a huge net. And I capture all the...
Oh, you mean a plane with a net on?
Yeah. Or how about this? How about we bypass all that and just build a firmament, build a dome over cities? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think that's gonna help I don't think that's gonna help the global warming part. Yeah.
No. Well,
because that'll affect plants and shit still too, right?
No, I'm saying, well, you build a dome so that you capture like all the CO2 activity from like cities.
Oh.
Yeah.
And just have people marinating in their own CO2 and eventually we just die.
Yeah. Farting is banned in major cities.
I think that's methane. I don't think you have to worry about the CO2 from the farts.
I thought we expelled... Well, we
maybe you do,
we expel
but
CO2 from just breathing, but like...
I think methane is...
But methane is probably the main thing. Anyway, but still, it would stink up the room and you don't want to... No, but...
well, we can't breathe in only CO2. That would result in death, so...
Yeah, but what if we could build a sort of... This is what makes it an interdisciplinary thing, because you can think of ways to like maybe do this, right? Like, let's say you do build... you decide to say, fuck it. Let's try to build some kind of thing around... I don't know, around cities is kind of silly, but let's just say you have this like membrane or film.
Around just the industry then.
Oh, that's kind of fair, yeah.
All the factories need to be in a bubble.
Yeah, with these films. No, I know they have these carbon capture stuff in factories and stuff, but I'm thinking of like membranes that you can build. This takes... knowledge of chemistry, engineering. Like there's so much multidisciplinary stuff happening. And I think if you had physicists on the team, they could tell you, oh, if something is energetically favorable to work, because like if you do calculations of like what is are you increasing entropy, like you can almost do like these modeling that we know what should work and what doesn't, right? And
depending,
so it's like this is a very multidisciplinary problem that could find a solution between everybody coming together: mathematicians, physicists, chemists, maybe
politicians are number one.
Law, yeah, politicians.
Politicians, where you at? This is the first chess piece, man. Like this is literally, we're waiting on white to move. This is literally the first move we gotta make,
and we have
nothing else is gonna be able to happen.
And by the way, if you want to learn more about this, we have a video.
Oh, on climate change back in the day. True.
Yeah, but do you remember do you remember how far back we did that one? Was that like last
I don't know.
year?
I just know it's like a blue thumbnail with an Indian crying, and a seal, and then a CO2 molecule.
Oh, interesting.
And they're all in like the Arctic or something. I remember liking that thumbnail a lot when I first made it, so that's why I remember it so clearly.
Gotcha. Well, go to that video, find the crying,
crying Indian man,
Eastern Asian man.
No, he's Native American.
Oh, he's Native. Oh, okay, Native American. Okay, yeah. Find the crying
like
Native American.
It's like the environment.
Gotcha. I see. Well, find the Native American crying.
We were playing off stereotypes back then.
We were.
But
find the Native American crying and watch the video, because it's kind of important to get a grasp, at least, of how climate change became politicized in the U.S.
Yeah, I thought that was a decently good video. I mean, it was like one of the first ones I researched for sure on in an in-depth way.
Yeah, that was a really good job.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it was okay.
No, that was great. That was great.
Yeah,
because
I think it could be better now, but it was decent first pass for sure.
No, it's really good. But go check that out if you haven't already, because that'll give you a good background that we won't get into in this episode.
Yeah.
But
we know facts on this episode.
Yeah,
all
speculation,
brain droppings,
all like trying to figure out ways to plug this carbon hole up.
Yeah.
So like
literally.
Yeah. What about you? What was the wildest thing that you
came up with?
Yeah.
Bro, I couldn't come up with shit, man.
No?
No.
Brainstorming?
I mean, it's tough. I'm trying to think of active ways.
Yeah.
And I got nothing really. All I can think of is a stupid fan to suck up CO2, and I mean,
you're like, damn.
I don't know enough. I got to research. I'd have to research.
Yeah. You said no, because you had the aerosol example. That's kind of active.
Yeah, but
yeah, really. It's
I didn't like that already from the beginning, so
it's
random.
But what about what if we make a sponge? Yeah, like a sponge.
Giant sponge. This is the sponge building.
But I for some reason it's so easy for me to come up with passive ones than it is active ones.
It's not gonna, I know that's not going to work. We have to, if you want to really attack the problem, you got to go with the active. I think, unless you're super clever with passive, which means a lot of research. I think. Yeah, because you're not coming up with a really clever idea for passive unless you really got a fucking arsenal of research under your belt.
Yeah. Like there's one of these passive ones. It's called peat soil. That's really good. That
peat soil.
That my friend told me about. Yeah, I think it's called peat soil.
Peat's oil or peat soil?
Peat soil. Sorry.
SOIL.
Yes.
Okay.
It's sometimes known as turf. It's an accumulation of partially decayed vegetation or organic matter. And it's.
Oh, so you got your friends on this one too. They want to join the Eigenbros Xprize.
That'd be cool.
Coalition. What's the abbreviation for EXC?
Oh, that's a cool.
Eigenbros Xprize Coalition. That's a cool acronym, huh? Nobody has that acronym. EXC. That's sick.
Yeah. So peatlands. Peatlands are a natural carbon sink, absorbing CO2 from the atmosphere and burying in the soil. But according to a new study, the continent's peatlands are in such a dry and fragile state they could go into reverse, releasing rather than absorbing carbon. This was last year. Damn. Releasing. And that was peatlands in Europe. They're drying.
What did he say? I missed that. You read that kind of fast.
Oh, they're saying that the peatlands, they naturally the
What's
peat
a peat
soil,
land?
the peat soil.
What's a peat soil?
The soil, the peat. Shit. Damn it.
Juan's the guy who like defines the word using the same same word.
Peat soil. Okay, peat soil is let me go back. It's turf, so it's like partially decayed vegetable organic matter like this.
Oh, okay.
And so peatlands, it's just it looks like dirt.
It's PEAT. Okay.
PEAT. Yeah, sorry. And they call them peatlands.
Yeah.
And they naturally form as carbon sinks, absorbing CO2. But because the climate is changing, they're now expelling CO2.
Oh.
And so,
weird.
Yeah. So
It's
that's a no-no.
Yeah, it's a big no-no.
We're unlocking new cool things.
New features of the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the real problem, right? With all these kind of runaway effects, it's like,
I know.
because you're also doing like these new things that have never occurred, and you're like compounding the effects. So we're like, oh, we got time left. Meanwhile, like things are getting exponentially ramped up.
Yeah. You're doing it like Terence is. I think you did a sort of hand back of the napkin, calculation or whatever, and you said that this is a linear extrapolation, which is a best case scenario.
I took like the most like benign version, like if nothing changed, no exponential effects, and saw like how long we would have to live for climate change. Just looking at the chart,
best
just a
case
linear
scenario.
graph, and it was like 800 to 1,200 years before all the polar ice caps are melted.
800 years is a best case scenario.
Yeah. Well, 1,200 is best case.
Oh, 1,200.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's somewhere between 800 and 1,200 years.
Damn, what a short ass lifetime for.
Yeah. I mean, that's not that. That's what, 10 generations? It's not that much. Or 12 generations? That's not that much.
It's really
if you really
not.
think about it. And like usually when shit's going catastrophic, a few of those generations before it are going to start feeling the effects, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I think it's more dire than we would like to think.
I mean, literally the last time a climate change drastically happened, the human population bottlenecked, and with the ice age.
Yeah.
And that was 10,000 years ago.
True.
And we don't know anything about the fuck happened before, like what civilization looked like before that.
Right.
It was just a mess.
It's just gone now.
So that's kind of the thing. Like we have to be very, very serious about curtailing this, because then we're going to lose we're going to leave these megalithic structures,
right?
Steel buildings,
right?
And people are going to be like, how did they build these things?
There's going to be a lot of mystery, a lot of artifacts.
Can you imagine like the magic, like how much like ancient, like let's say the climate change, the most catastrophic thing happens.
And like the population got significantly wiped.
Yeah, and like there's like a huge genetic bottleneck, and only like 10% of the population. No, actually 10% would be
still a lot.
Still a lot, because 7 billion people.
7 billion. Yeah, that's, what is that? 10 divided by 100, so that's 10 to the 7th.
Yeah.
That's 10.
Oh shit.
10 million.
Yeah, that's a couple million people. Like, it's still actually that's actually kind of bad if you think about it. Like a couple million people out of 7 billion.
Yeah.
Damn. And I could see that happening. Because think about it, like realistically, if there was a huge cataclysmic event in the Earth, and there only being 7 million people across the globe, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, right now, Elon was talking about. I think it was Elon. Was it? Yeah, I think it was Elon talking about actually one of the biggest crises we're seeing right now is actually depopulation.
Yeah.
Because apparently our generation's birth rates are so low right now that we're under replacing the dying rate.
Yeah, it's what's happening in China.
More people are dying than births happening.
Yeah.
That's globally.
Yeah,
in the U.S. too. So it's like, damn. I'm like, boomers, this is why millennials, you need to give millennials fucking real jobs out here.
Boomers, I know. Hey, I know I'm very reductionist on like this like stuff, but please, we need to start handing out pamphlets to boomers and say, I think it's time to retire. You know what I'm saying? I think it's time to like hand over the...
Give it up.
No, I mean, like, look, we say if you want real solutions, we say this all the time on our Patreon, and it's become kind of a joke at this point. But our Patreon listeners know very well how much we are against a certain demographic of people. We're very ageist, but this is only because I think a lot of the problems come from
these old motherfuckers.
The geriatrics.
Long story short.
I mean, in long story short, like it's a lot of. There's not enough new blood. There's not enough new thinking and problems that affect us directly.
Yeah. And we're in an age of really where technological issues are really critical too.
Yeah. And what do you mean by that? Sorry.
I'm just saying like technology is a very critical part of solving a lot of our problems. I think. Right. Even like climate change.
Right.
You know, because this is an engineering problem, right? If we can make enough carbon reducing, devices, let's say, just like the guy has at Carbon Engineering, that could be a route to a solution.
Yeah.
If you have enough smart people on the problem, then maybe it can get done.
It out. Yeah.
But I guess that's why Elon's trying to pump that out now with the Xprize. So
yeah. Well, because I mean, look, Elon. Research has gone. Research works, people. Like this is how we got the mRNA vaccine, which is a huge technological feat. Just
right.
It's kind of this like plug and play tech now, where it took 50 years to develop, but they
developed it real quick with COVID.
And this is a crisis.
Even though it was on the end tail of its development, but still impressive.
Yeah, man.
The only problem is I don't like how you have to get sick though.
Oh, the second
because with old vaccines, I never got sick.
Yeah,
I know you've mentioned that you have.
I have, yeah.
For me, it never happened. Only with the new COVID vaccine have I gotten sick.
Yeah,
and I'm like that kind of. I mean, it's a small price to pay. Right. Don't get me wrong, but like, I would like the premium version where we could not get sick somehow.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I don't know if that's a result every time you get the shot or if that's only for that one instance.
mRNA vaccines.
Yeah.
I think mRNA vaccines. Well, these are booster shots, so the idea is the first one you don't get sick.
Yeah,
but that's because you're
being
given the genetic code so that your body's like, all right, let me make antibodies for this.
Yeah.
But the second time is to simulate an infection, so your body recognizes now the mRNA code and is like, oh, that's a bad thing. So I think that's why you get the immune response. I don't know why I got sick from a shot. Maybe what could have happened is I had been exposed to the virus and then I got the vaccine and then it sort of served as that kind of same effect.
I see.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, because maybe if you're not exposed to it the first time, it doesn't feel like anything.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I have heard of people getting sick from old vaccines.
Yeah. So if you're what would you call them? Virologist?
Yeah,
if you're a virologist, please
or epidemiology.
Or epidemiologist, please comment below because we want to know this clarification. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah. The cataclysmic thing.
Oh, that whole thing.
we need solutions. So tell your friends, tell everybody that this is sit them down at the table, and be like, this is they have the Xprize.
Yeah,
like,
so you're trying to hit up that Xprize.
Yeah. If your mom is like, if you're doing a lot of work away from home, or if you're doing work alone in your bedroom this holiday or during the summer, and your mom's like, why don't you ever get out of your room? It's just be like, Mom, I'm working on the Xprize. Gosh. It's just to make sure that just let your parents know that you're very serious about saving the planet. But and if they're boomers, they'll probably say they'll never get a job.
Right.
But in all seriousness, if you have any ideas,
put them in the comments.
Put them in the comments, and if you like the idea of like starting a Discord, a legitimate Discord,
it sounds like more work for me to do, though.
Does it?
Maybe one day.
Yeah. We're open to collaboration on it. At least I am.
Discord's annoying because you have to have mods and shit, and I don't want to have fucking mods. And I don't want to mod. Yeah. It means you always have to be monitoring shit. Just sounds like a pain in the ass.
It is kind of a pain.
But we'll see.
We'll see, but
because I played with the idea of making a Discord, especially for the patron members, but it just seems like an annoyance.
Well, in any case,
so we'll see. Maybe.
Yeah. In any case, I think it's a worthy feat.
Get the Eigenbros to $1,000 a month, and then we'll think about doing Discord. We need to do this as a career.
We need a conversion of 50% of our listeners.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, like, please leave a comment below. Like, give us any thoughts on your ideas. Maybe we'll pin the best ones that might seem feasible, and tell people about it, because I think this is huge. And if you're even starting a school, because I know there's an award for students. Start your own chapter. It's at the school, at the engineering club.
For sure.
Yeah. And then
dreams can come true, guys.
And invite us on for consulting, so that when you get your big paycheck, we can be a part of the picture, just standing next to Elon Musk, just being like, hey.
Yeah, we got to get an Elon interview one of these days.
I think that's our way in.
I've had a vision lately of getting Ed Whitten on.
Oh, really?
It's just in my vision.
Right.
It's in my mental vision.
You're manifesting it.
Yeah, I'm trying to manifest it right now.
Yeah. Hey, for some reason, I have been feeling that same manifestation.
Oh yeah,
in the air. I have.
Oh shit.
I'm like, I think Ed Whitten's
feeling it too.
I think Ed Whitten might be.
I just need to channel some more energy to him.
Eigenbros.
Ed, please.
Yeah. Or if you know Ed Whitten, please just whisper, just say throw in Eigenbros in the conversation, like you have Tourette's.
Right.
And
I finally got Gary Vee to respond to me the other day,
which
is because I showed you the text.
The recognition. Yeah.
I was like, got him. I just need him to see the user logo.
Yeah.
And then it's all downhill from there.
He's like blocked and reported. Nah, but yeah, folks. Anyway, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. And check us out on all the socials at Eigenbros, and it's at Eigenbros for TikTok, right?
Eigenbros.com, Eigenbros2 on TikTok, Eigenbros on Twitter, Eigenbros on Instagram. And patrons, once again, we greatly appreciate you guys. And if you guys want to join the Patreon, it's patreon.com/Eigenbros.
Yep.
Just $1, and you guys can hear us, me and Juan, talk about some really dumb shit.
Yeah, ramble
on our Patreon.
Yeah, for the most part.
It's kind of in the vein of this, only
more intimate. No, it's more personal stories.
And more random, even.
More personal stories and more random.
Yeah.
For sure.
We'll talk about anything over there.
We really do.
Yeah.
But and you really do get more personal views on things.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, thanks for listening, folks, and we'll see you later.
Ta-ta.